Okay. So today I'm going to share my views on the significance of web security in the face of rising web application attacks. Just a second. So today I'm going to share my views on significance of web security in the face of rising web attacks. Okay, at present, whatever the services which the business or any kind of government sector, it is reaching to the public only through services. Like these services are getting to the public, and these services are getting to the public and through the applications. These applications can be a web or a mobile. Okay, so in this so we need to know the keen situation where how these web applications are playing a major role in security, and how these the confidential data of the public are being held in the servers of the servers. Okay, so so the main agenda which I want to explain is first I'll explain how the threat landscape is against the web application attacks, and I am going to after the threat landscape I'm going to show you about what are the different services provided to overcome these threats which are attacking now, and after those services, I'm going to share you some case studies on how this real-time attacks will be made possible by different kinds of attackers. Okay, so this is my agenda. So the in the front of your screen, you're able to see some colorful sheet, right? It's of different squares, like each and every square is of in different colors, right? This is the figure like 3,950 breaches have been happened by in the year 2020. This is the figure which was given by Verizon. Okay, Verizon is basically a telecommunication company. It will be releasing these threat intelligence reports each and every year. Means they will analyze all the incidents which are happened throughout the year, and they will release the report at the end of the year. Okay, they will analyze these incidents because these incidents will be analyzed only at a particular means threshold. Like they'll maintain some parameters. If those parameters are met, then these they will be considering it as an incident. Okay, so many industries like from many regions, they contribute their breaches. Like they will share their breach details to the Verizon so that everyone around the world will be get to know about how these breaches has happened, and what are the data has been leaked, how sensitive the information has been placed into the hands of the attacker. Okay, so each and every color at the back of the screen you're seeing is each and every square is one particular breach that has happened in a particular region. Like one color is of one particular region, and each square is a breach. Means those many breaches has happened in that particular region. Okay, there are around 32,000 incidents has happened, and out of those 32,000 incidents, there are confirmed 3,950 confirmed breaches has been given as an analysis statistic part, which was given by the Verizon company. Okay. So as I told you, they have given the 3,950 confirmed breaches. Means confirmed after the incident has happened, out of 332,000, we have confirmed 3,950 breaches. Okay, this is the Verizon analysis report which was given in the year 2020. DBIR stands for Data Breach Investigation Report. This is the investigation report which will be given by the Verizon in each and every year. Means whatever all the incidents or attacks has happened all through the year, they will release a report based on the analysis done by them. Actually, in Verizon, there's one threat research advisory center they keep analyze they get the incidents from different contributors and different regions, and they keep analyzing all through the year, and they release at the end of the they release this investigation report at the end of the year. So these were the statistics which was given by the Verizon. Okay. So I've talked about the incident and a breach. Okay, let us know what is meant by incident and what is meant by a breach. Okay, incident is a security event that compromises integrity, confidentiality, or availability of an information asset. Okay, what do you mean by integrity means? Means suppose if I'm sending a message to if I'm a person A is sending a message to person B, like say hi, hello. In the before reaching to the destination, the message may get tampered in the between. Like it may change from hi, hello to hi, how are you? So the integrity of the data, which is before reaching the destination, will get changed. Will be get tampered in the middle. That's where you lose the integrity. Okay. The next one is the confidentiality. Confidentiality is suppose if I'm sending an information like if I'm going to share some username and passwords to the user for connecting a WebEx, say like this. If I'm sending the password to the destination, before this password is a confidential, something which is the only to be read by the receiver, not by anyone. So before reaching to the destination, if this password or are being seen by any other third party, then it may lose confidentiality. The confidentiality it can come under it's not only like password or something. It can be any PII data like other kind of data. Anything we can come under confidentiality. Okay. So the next one is availability. Availability is these services which should be available like 24/7. Like suppose if you say there's a website like a banking website, like say suppose you say e-commerce website, you keep shopping online, these e-commerce websites will be by 24/7 available 24/7. It's suppose if any DOS attack or something happens, this availability, the service will become unavailable. Like you may lose the service, the server may come down. Okay, this based on these parameters, we consider a particular security event as an incident. Okay, while coming to breach, breach is where if you confirm that disclosure has happened, a potential exposure has happened to the data to the unauthorized party, then you consider it as a breach. So the breach is nothing but a confirmed incident. We call it as a breach. Okay, if we disclose any kind of data to an unauthorized party, that will come under a breach. So those are the things which you have to know the in basic. So the next one which I want to tell you is one of a company like Verizon, similar to type of Verizon entity is one company which it even releases these investigation reports like global threat intelligence report. So he is before releasing those intelligence reports, the CEO of entity's security division has stated this particular statement, has given the statement that at present a majority of businesses today use applications as a friend door. Okay, this is where both client and financial information is held or can be accessed. And when some not practicing the basic security hygiene, such as running the latest version of frequently used applications, patching and updating systems, and encrypting data at rest or in transit, threat actors are focusing on these vulnerabilities. So what is he meant to say is, at present, every application is reaching to the public only through applications. Like every service is reaching to the public through applications. So this is where the client and financial information will be placed on. So the people who are developing or the people who are using, they don't actually know the basic security hygiene. Like they don't actually know what version to use, they keep using some outdated versions which are vulnerable to attacks or something. So those basic security hygiene, which they don't know those, and they fall under a prey against these attacks. Okay, so he has given this statement before releasing the global investigation report. So of 2020. That is the global investigation report of 2020. So summary of findings which were released by Verizon during this 2020 is this. Okay, what are the tactics utilized? Like what in all through I've mentioned that there are around 3,950 breaches has happened. Means among all those breaches, the breaches can be anything. Like it can happen using many techniques. Like it can be a hacking, or it can be errors caused by the application code, or it can be a social attacks or malware or any misuse by authorized users. Like it can also be a physical actions were present. Okay, so these were the analysis which was made by the Verizon. They told they have told after analyzing those incidents, they told the 45% of breaches were featured for hacking. Okay, among all the breaches which we have confirmed, which they have confirmed, among those 45% were featured with hacking, and 22% of with errors which were caused by a casual event, and the 22% was included with social attacks. And the next one is goes for malware. Okay, the 8% of the breaches were misused by authorized users. Like authorized users may take the data and may sell the data after going outside. Okay, even if that comes under a breach. Okay, the physical actions were also under 4%. So who is behind this breaches is most of the persons like external actors may external attackers, like anyone who is who can do this kind of attacks privately. They may take these government and any kind of websites or any kind of hacking. They contributed to 70%. There were about 70% of people who has done these breaches. Okay, and around organized criminal groups, like many criminal groups will be there, which were organized like espionage or some groups. They have contributed around 55% of the breaches. Espionage is something like it's an organized criminal group which can be which sometimes the government itself will organize one criminal group, like I mean, to take to attack to particular kind of asserts of India. Even those groups will come under breaches. Okay, those were contributed around 50%, 55%, and 30% were involved with internal actors. Internal actors were internal people. Internal attackers were who come under the inside the organization. Like they may come under. There may be an employee who does this hacking or something, breaching the data to and some unauthorized third parties. Okay, those were around 30%, and only 4% of the breaches had 4 or more attacker actions. Like attacker actions can be different, like he may do in a different ways. So those were come under 4%, and 1% were involved with partner actors, and 1% were featured with multiple parties. Okay, the next with who are the victims? The victims may be a small scale or large scale, or many small business will be involved. 81% were of the breaches were contained in a day or less. Means the breaches were not resolved, and they're contained within a days or less. Okay, and 72% of these breaches are large scale businesses, and 58% of the victims had personal data compromised. Personal data may come like a PII data, or like other data, or it can be any kind of personal information. Like suppose if any individual may have a personal information, like his Aadhaar, his PAN number, his like that. Those personal information were compromised by the victims. Such victims were about 58%, and 28% of the breaches were involved by small business victims. Okay, these were the victims, and what are the commonalities? Like what are the motive done by the attackers? Means most of the attackers will do this kind of hacking only if they're financially motivated. Means if they get a financial amount out of these attacks, they get a motive to take these breaches only if they get financial amount. Okay, some and around 8 web applications were involved with 43% of the breaches, and 37% of the breaches stole the user credentials. Users theft of the credentials can be happened, or it was around 37%, and malware incidents and ransomware was around 27%, and 22% of the breaches was phishing. So you have done yesterday and day before yesterday, you have known all those technical terms dealing with all the web applications, like attacks, how could that happen, and what are the attacks. You may know the basics of all those. So I'm not covering all those techniques. I mean, the technically. I'm just sharing this summary of findings know you how important the web security is, and how it is evolving in its attacks in future. Okay, these were the findings in present 2020. So in 2020, you came to know that most of the you told as I told. As the Verizon has reported, the for 45%, which is the major one, is hacking. And in hacking, about in 87% of hacking vector breaches are web portals. Okay, so these were the departments which were affected mostly. I've now given a ranking where most of the breaches has happened. So the first one, the left side of this thing of the thing your table you see is about is the thing, statistics of an incident, and the right side is of breaches. Okay, you came to know the difference between the incidents and breaches in the previous slide. Okay, so in incidents, the major sector which is affected is professional, and the second one is from unknown sources. The incidents has happened, and the third one is the public sector, and the fourth one is the information, and the fifth one is the finance. Okay, these were the incidents. These were the top 5 incidents were happen in different sectors. Okay, from the right side, if you see, there's these were the data breaches which were happened, and the major data breaches which were happened in was from unknown sources. And the second one is the healthcare, and the third one is the finance, and the fourth one is manufacturing, and the fifth one is the information. So you can see the difference, like in incidents, the professional was the highest one, and while in coming to the breaches, the professional is not in the top 5. So you can see that means the incidents are just the compromise of those CIA, which I've discussed before. Now the breaches were confirmed incidents. Okay, means the confirmed means the data disclosure has happened, and the data was the sensitive data was disclosed to unauthorized third party. So these confirmed incidents we need to take into now accountant. Okay, so the right side of the part is a major thing which you have to consider. So the first one is from the unknown sources, and the second one is from healthcare, and the third one is finance, and the fifth one is information security, and the fourth is the manufacturing. These were the sectors which were mostly affected. So as I told you, as hacking is placing a major role in 2020, it has contributed around 45% of the breaches which has happened. Among those hacking vectors, 87% of hacking vectors in breaches are of web applications. Okay, only web applications. Through web applications, this hacking is made possible. Hacking can be anything. It can be done using web applications. It can be done by using a backdoor or injecting a malware, or it can be a desktop share. It can be sharing a desktop software, like a command shell and physical access. As you can see, the statistics at the right of the image, the web application is around 87% of the hacking vectors. Okay, these were the vectors of which were used in 2020 by the attackers. So the web application attack blocks which were I'm going to discuss now is these were the attacks which were mostly used in 2020 to attack against the victims. So the block size, as you can see, the each and every attack is of different size of the block. So SQL inject is one is contributed around more than 50%. So a major thing is SQL injection is being used as a major vector in hacking the applications, web applications. And the next comes the PHP inject. PHP inject is you inject a PHP code where it can be rendered and executed as PHP, whatever the code which you give. So we can inject any kind of a shell script so to get the shell access of the server. Okay, the next comes the local inject file, means where we get the files from the server. Like the file path, if suppose a file path attribute is there, we will will render the content of the files using the file path where you can store, you can retrieve the content like password kind of files like etc password or something like in Linux machine, and for Windows Win.ini, like you can retrieve any sensitive content from the server. That's where comes under local file inject. And the next comes is a file upload. File upload is where this proper input validation is not maintained with the file parameter, like file uploading. If we upload a file with the file name of that particular technology, we may render a web shell. Like the web shell, once the web shell is retrieved, you can able to access all the contents of the server. Okay, the next comes the XSS. XSS is a kind of executing a JavaScript on the browser. So if there's no proper input validations, these will be executing and they may give the session and session details to the attacker. Okay, the next one comes under the other inject. Other injections were many other injections like PHP injection, command injection, many injections will be placed on the other inject. So these were the attacks mostly done in 2020. So you have already known it about yesterday about the technical details, how it will be performed. So I'm not discussing deeply around this. Okay, I'm going with the next slide. The next comes the security misconfiguration. So as I told you in before slide, about 45% were done by hacking, and the second comes the errors in the security breaches. Means errors is something which was be done by the developers. Like they don't develop the code logically, like means with the appropriate security controls in the code. So it will lead to some misconfigurations. But suppose they may use some outdated versions of an technology which may be prone to some attacks, like they may be vulnerable to attacks. You may have heard about the CV, vulnerability exposure rate, where you can see for each and every technology version, you can able to see what are the vulnerabilities that can be used, what are the exploits that can be used in that particular vulnerability. Okay, so this comes under the misconfiguration. Like he may not actually code as per the logic. He may keep the control at the client side. Okay. He may keep the code at client side where we can bypass the code, and if there are no input validations, we can bypass the code. All this comes under security misconfiguration. As you can see, the graph for the misdelivery is decreasing down, and the publishing error is also decreasing down. Misdelivery is being decreasing because as nowadays all the some websites which are of basic security hygiene, they are maintaining this SSL and TLS encryption. So the delivery of the information is somewhat safe. So it was decreasing down. So the next one is a publishing error is also decreasing down. The next the point which we are which kept on increasing exponentially is misconfiguration. That was the law that was because the people are not aware of security things. So it was done like this. So the top discovery methods in error breaches are security. The like how we discover such errors is you may take a security researcher, like he may encounter such errors and he may report to us. So ours is one such company where we provide such services for these kind of attacks, where we report our issues to the department for for vulnerabilities and all those. So I will explain all those detailedly in the in the next slides. Okay, the security researcher is the main one who can able to find the errors. Okay, the next one is the unrelated third party, any external services, also unrelated third party which is not which is not authorized one, so may also get find the errors. The next one is the customers, and then other people can also do, and the reported by many internal employee can also perform this misconfiguration, like finding the errors. And the next is the auditing. Okay, these were the top discovery methods in error breaches. So till now I told you about how these how the threat landscape is been going vastly in this 2020, and how these web applications are being placed as a major role in hacking and all this. So after knowing all those threat landscape, you need to keep safe for yourself. So in order to get such services, you have to seek for an organization which will provide a so cyber security assurance services. So cyber security assurance services is that first you have to place a cyber security policy to your organization, and you have to perform a process audit, a continuous monitoring, and a periodic auditing, and a code review. Okay, so cyber security policy. So I'm going to discuss some things, these things in next slides. Okay. So I'm not going to cover all the process audit and code review. The main part which I want to cover as a part of web applications and defensing, I'll cover as a continuous monitoring and periodic auditing. Okay. The next comes this. So before telling all those things, I need to give you a quick overview around about all the definitions which I'm going to cover in the next topics, like threat, what is a threat, what is a vulnerability, and what is a risk, and what is an attack. Okay. What's a threat means? A threat is like a potential danger to information of the systems, and the vulnerability is like a flaw which was it can harm to the system. Okay. The next comes the risk or the likelihood of the threat taking the advantage of the vulnerability. Okay, for suppose if you have a program which has a vulnerability code vulnerable to SQL injection, say, so it may if that has a potential, if it has a potential danger to information, can get the data of the entire database, that way falls under the threat. So the risk is where if the threat and vulnerability exists, the risk will automatically occur. So the risk is nothing but a threat and vulnerability. Risk is a threat into vulnerability. Okay, so vulnerability, you have understood the example, I think. So the attack is when it will happen is the threat. It will accompany with threat, motive, method, and vulnerability. So if you have suppose if the attacker has the motive of gaining a financially out of the threat, out of the attack, then he will start the using this vulnerability, and the method will where it comes under how it could be exploited, like if it is vulnerable to SQL injection, how the method means whatever the payload which you give will come under the method, and the threat is where the all these the whole compromise of the data will come under the threat. Okay, these are the basic things which you have to know before telling about the next slides. Okay, the next comes the cybersecurity framework. So before I have discussed about cybersecurity assurance services like cybersecurity policy, like right, this policy is actually being used in AP government as well. Okay, so the effective implementation of AP cybersecurity policy, Government of AP has issued a GOMS number 18 on 6th March 2019. Okay, on GO number, according to the GO, on 6th March 2019, AP government has given a cybersecurity framework. AP government has released a 185 security controls to be practiced in all departments across the state. Okay, among all those 185 security controls, these were the few controls which were recognized as a business-driven security control. This were the comes under the cybersecurity life cycle. So you can see the five steps in this cybersecurity life cycle, like identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Okay, the identify, protect, detect, three of them will come under the proactive step before happening of the incident. Okay, the next comes the respond and the recover will come under the reactive step, after which was breach has happened and how to respond and how to recover. So the first three comes under the proactive and the next two comes under the reactive. Okay, so identifying is something which we identify the asserts. Asserts is something like it can be a physical or a digital. So this asserts will be kept, means it can also be a critical business function. Or suppose if the company deals with the economy or a company's reputation in public, such kind of things will be come under the asserts. Okay, the assessing this risk relating to the asserts will come under the identification part. So the putting the place into appropriate risk management strategy will also come under the identify part. So the next one is the protect. Protect is where you keep the access controls in place after identifying the risks and risks towards the asserts. Asserts, then you have to keep the controls put in place. So the next one is the detect. Detect is where you get continuous monitoring, continuous auditing, and analysis over the anomalies identified throughout the means whatever the incidents has happened. You have to monitor, you have to analyze, and you have to audit. Such kind of things will come under the detect. So respond is where you plan accordingly after the incident has happened, means how to whom to contact once the incident has happened, once the breach has happened, whom to contact, whom to share the details about the incident, and whom to tell immediate means how to respond immediately. So the mitigation steps will be taken under the response part. The recover part is where after the breach has happened, how you should be able to be back to your before state, like how to recover from the state of the breach, where you have to enhance the systems and how to update the immediate communications, like that. Okay, this is the cybersecurity framework which AP government has designed. Okay, as you can see, the yellow part, which is a middle row, is of baseline controls, which is made mandatory to all the departments of AP government. So these will be these have to be done mandatory at first step. After completion of the first one, the next one is the advanced security controls, which were in the gray part. So after covering these two, if you are okay with that, the industry specific controls will also be made mandatory. Okay, the first one I'm going to discuss is about the baseline controls. So as I told you in that, you can see 5 columns. Like first one is identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So in the under identification part, the assert management, data privacy, governance will come under in the baseline control. Like assert management, where you find the asserts and risk associated with the asserts, and data privacy is like it depends upon the kind of the organization which you are running, like what kind of data you have been made private, like if it user kind of data, all those will come and we have to identify in this particular part. And the next one is the protect. Protect is with access control, data security, policies and procedures, protective technology, like systems for access control and data security, where you have we can establish a standard operating procedures here and deploy a protective technologies like configuration management, backup management, maintenance of effective human resource in place for securing these applications. Okay, the guy and you can also do this capacity building where you can reskill the existing employees with new technologies so that they will be fully aware of how this security will be how this security can be handled and how the important asserts and asserts of the of the government organizations will be held. Okay, where that where protection will be held. And the next one is the detect. Detect is where you have to get into continuous monitoring. Means all the asserts of the AP government will be get into continuous monitoring using a SOC, Security Operations Center. We have which we have already started here by the government, AP Cyber Security Operations Center, which I'm going to discuss about it fully after in the next slides. So, okay, the next one where this security operations center will keep monitoring all the asserts of the each and every department, and they will analyze the incidents if they reach to them. Okay, and the next one is the response. Response is where the immediate response, how to communicate to the about the incident to the people who are monitoring these incidents. So we have to take how to respond. The response planning which should be taken care of. If suppose an incident has happened to your organization, then you should have appropriate methodology to respond it immediately. Like you should keep in place or plan like whom to contact and what steps are to be taken immediately and how to communicate and mitigation improvements for the future resilience. Okay, so this way comes under the response. And the next one is the recover. Recover is where you have to plan accordingly, like disaster recovery plan. Like after the incident has happened, you have to recover to the previous state with appropriate the DRP plan. Okay, and continuous enhancements and improvements has to be done in this recover step. Okay. After baseline controls are made mandatory to the department, if those are being fulfilled by the department, the next one you have to taken care of is the advanced security controls, which are the next level of mandatory, which are made by mandatory to by the government of AP. Okay, so the even same what I've told you before, like human resources, identity management, application security, audit and assurance, everything will come under the advanced security controls like secure code review, a vulnerability assessment under the detection part, and the response plan execution and reporting, cyber forensics, and incident containment will come under the response part. Okay, so these were the controls which were given by the AP government to all the departments to get it done. Okay. Next is the continuous monitoring. So as I told you before, like as a part of cyber security assurance services, I'm starting with the continuous monitoring and then periodic auditing. So I'm starting with this with continuous monitoring. So continuous monitoring, what I told is before is it comes under the detection part, which I've told in the life cycle. This detection part where the AP CSOC is one particular center which will operate all the security related operations all over the state. Okay, so this as per the GO has been released in on 25th of January 2019, GO number 6, ITNC department. As per the GO, all the IT assets should be onboarded to for all the IT assets of all secretariat departments, HODs, PSUs, societies, and institutions for all continuous IT security monitoring of APC SOC. All these IT assets should be onboarded to IT assets. Sorry, our IT assets should be onboarded to APC SOC. Okay, so APCSOC generally how the what the work will be done in the APCSOC I'm going to discuss now. So APCSOC actually follows the incident management process. So where incident first will be logged and then it will be categorized and then it will be prioritized and then it will be assigned. The next is the task creation and management and SLA management, incident resolution and incident closure. These were the steps which will every incident will be handled in APCSOC. So at first, incident logging is where incident will be get into them. Where how do they get the incident to APCSOC is like it can be through mails or any victim can contact APCSOC through mails or through web forms, which you can use this URL https://apcrt.gov.in, where you can apply those give those incident details to them for further investigation, and you may also get in touch with the help desk of APCSOC, or you can also report to respective any CISO of your department. Okay, CISO means Chief Information Security Officer. If any one of this person is there in the department, you can report to them so that he may get these details to the APCSOC. The next one, this where the first step incident logging will be done in the APCSOC, and the next is the incident categorization. Basically, the incident will be categorized on which kind of asset has been compromised. Like it can be a financial asset, or it can be a PII, or some any kind of things like that. First, it will be categorized and differentiated so that the further process will be done. The next is the incident. The third step is incident prioritization. Okay, the incident will be prioritized, means the risk rating will be done. Means how the impact of based on impact and urgency, like how much of damage has been done, like the degree of damage that has caused to the organization. Like it can be the incident can be a critical one, it can be a high, or it can be a medium, or it can be a low. That's where your prioritization will be done. So after categorization and prioritization, this incidents will be assigned to a particular APCSOC and analyst lead, where he will solve all those incidents step by step. Okay. After that, reaching to the lead, he will if the incident is of higher one, it will be divided. It will be break down into sub activities where he will break down the tasks and he will assign to each and every level of levels of leads in analysts in the APCSOC. Okay, after based upon the prioritization, each and these incidents will be solved. Like if it is critical one, it has to be solved within 4 hours. If it is a high or a major one, it can be solved in 8 hours. If it is a medium one, it can be solved in 1 day, or if it is a low one, it can be solved within 3 days. Like this, based on these steps, this APCSOC will undergo each and every incident before resolving it. Okay. So as a part I have discussed with the continuous monitoring, the next comes is the audit one. Audit part is where we have to do a compliance and keep the assess the system controls. Okay, this is the exact definition of an audit. Audit is like an independent review and examination of records and activities to assess the adequacy of system controls, to ensure compliance with the established policies and operational procedures, and to recommend necessary changes in controls, policies, and procedures. So it's like a independent review. You have to find the assess this whatever the information which you are held. You have to assess these, and you have to find the adequate controls for those, and find the policies and operation procedures which are there right place or not. You have to carefully go through those. This is where the independent examination will be done. This is the exact definition of audit. Okay. So these periodic, as I told you before, continuous monitoring, after continuous monitoring and periodic audit will come under, where this will come under the detect part of the life cycle of cybersecurity framework. Okay, so the in periodic audit, there are different kinds of periodic audit, like it can be compliance audit and assessment, risk assessments, code review, functional audits, cybersecurity audits. Okay, APTS is like has been identified as a nodal agency for cybersecurity assurance as per GOMS 4. Okay, so of ITNC department. So the GO number 4 has stated that APTS was being identified as a nodal agency for taking part and taking these activities forward to make the services effective. Okay. The next comes is the after the periodic audit, I'm going to cover is the risk assessment. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, the as a part of periodic audits, I'm going to cover the next one is the risk assessment. I'll cover the briefly, which are the in the white color. I'm going to cover briefly, but the major thing which I'm going to say today is around about web application audits. So I'm going to cover it detailedly. This web application audits and all those. So as a part of risk assessment, as I told you before, the risk is like if there's a vulnerability and accompanied with a threat, then a risk is automatically can occur. So risk is equal to threat into vulnerability. Okay, so this is where exact definition of a risk. So risk assessments will be done based upon the asserts. Okay, how they evaluate the risk based upon the asserts which were they made compromise. Okay. So first, the part of thing is first we have to identify the assets based upon which we have to calculate the risk. The assets can be of different types, like information assets, hardware assets, software assets, and network assets. Information assets where you have to get the with the security and information technology communities, and hardware assets where you have to differentiate with the name, IP address, MAC address, manufacturer name, physical and logical location. And the software assets is where like proprietary programs and company bespoke softwares were in place. The next one is the network assets and network components and monitoring tools, etc. Now, like this, we have to differentiate the assets, and based on these assets, we have to identify the risk. Okay, that's where the risk assessment will come. The risk can be differently. It can be a qualitative or a quantitative. Like qualitative is where a particular scale value will be given, and quantitative is where a degree of cost will be given in dollars and figures. Okay. The risk as a part of risk assessment, you can follow some mitigation strategies, like if you have any implementing any security control. Suppose you have to protect a hard drive, like if, against the failure, you have to provide a security control like a RAID technology, like redundant array of independent disks, where after the failure of the hard drive, you can place with the next one, like as a secondary part. Okay, the next one with as a part of risk mitigation strategy is where you can accept the risk, like even if it is coming, yes, you can able to accept, and you can forward it without implementing any solution. Okay, the next one is the transfer of the risk, where you can get the you can transfer to some third party, like suppose you have your incident has happened, but you can have the incidents where you can get the or recover from the security incidents, that where you transfer the risk. Okay, and the next one is the avoid of the risk, where avoidance is where you can avoid it without if the risk is about to happen, or if there's a probability of the risk to happen, then you can avoid it by deciding not to perform the activity anymore. Like suppose you have an e-commerce website that you can earn a revenue, puts you at risk at attack, from the sources of the internet. So you can simply avoid by not selling the products online. Okay, that's where the avoidance of the risk comes. The next one is the deter the risk, where the way the it can we can prevent the risk from happening. Like these were the mitigation where things were risk, okay, before happening. So I've done with the risk assessments and risk assessment. I'm done with the risk assessment, and the next one is security audit. Audit where we have to. As I told you before, audit is like an independent review. So we as a part of the audits we will do an VAPT, like vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, like assessment. We keep improving all the we make a continuous assessment to make for the improvements to all the assets of the assets or data that is stored in the web applications. Okay, assessment is like a process of documenting the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and beliefs. Okay, so vulnerability assessment is where you assess the vulnerabilities and make continuous improvements to so that you get it the vulnerability fixed, and you can make your web application a secure one. So the next one is where the penetration test will come into picture, where you can exploit the vulnerabilities in a system. If suppose by whether with an unauthorized access or any other malicious activity that is possible, and identify which flaws pose a threat to the application. So there are two different teams in the VAPT, where red team and the blue team comes into picture. The red team is like offensive security, where users will means offensive security is where attacking the picture comes. Like the blue team is where a defending part, like attacking is like ethical hackers will come into red team. Like blue team is like monitoring, where SOC, Security Operations Center, will come into picture. So in red team, ethical hackers will do the and exploiting vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities can be exploited. Penetration test, where we get into the system using some backdoor, and then it can be any black box testing, like if without knowing the details. Of with details or username or password, you can able to penetrate into the server using some known vulnerabilities. Okay, then you can also do a social engineering, like you can also make the any authorized user of the department. You can make a phone call and get a passwords from them, and using some tactics like I'm calling from a so and so company, higher official, so you have to share me these credentials, so I'll get into contact with you. They may call you like this. That's where social engineering comes into picture. Even that will come under red team. And the web application scanning, all the offensive part means which was attacks or something which is against the web application security, means where attack can be happening. And blue team is where defending, where these attacks will be defended by taking appropriate controls, incidents response, and where how these can be instance will be responded in different ways, like APC SOC, what I've told you, in different steps, like how they log, they categorize, and how they investigate all the incidents. Those will come under the blue team. Okay, they basically protect the infrastructure from these attacks. Okay. So as per this audit which I've discussed now, VAPT, our organization has been identified as a nodal agency. Nodal agency is something like it's like a state-owned entity, where it can carry forward all those activities trustedly. Like so, the government of India has identified APTS as a nodal agency in implementing these audits secure. As authorized one. Okay, so as per the GO number 4, which was issued on Jan 10th, 2019 from ITNC department, all the critical infrastructures should be onboarded, and these will be audited. So as I told you before, there are different critical infrastructures like in each and every department. So these critical infrastructures will be first identified by the SPOC, like who is the point of contact of that particular department. First, that department SPOC will first identify if there's any non-IT asserts. They will then shut down these or disconnect from the internet to avoid these attacks. So the next one is the SPOC will be provided access to this https://itsers.apts.gov.in, where he will enter all the CII details into that website, and he will get into touch with the APTS, where all these critical infrastructure will be audited. Okay, so after entering the details by the SPOC, the first one is if they will categorize. Means based upon the criticality of the critical infrastructure, he will make sure that it has to be done. The audit has to be done in within 3 months. If it is highly critical one, it has to be done in within 3 months. If it is medium critical IT assert, it can be done in 6 months. If it is a low critical IT assert, it can be done once in a year, like that. Okay, the SPOC will ensure how critical the IT asset is before entering into the IT assets. Okay, so the process where the audit compliance will come into picture is audit will APTS will first conduct the first level of audit of all the CIA as provided by the SPOC, and then the identified findings during the audit will be made available to the SPOC. So the SPOC will share they'll arrange some fixing or closing of those findings and update the closure status of the same portal. And then APTS will confirm that closure of the findings through the follow-up of the audit, and then these steps will be get repeated, means until all the vulnerabilities are closed, and until all those are closed, then APTS will provide an audit compliance certificate. So okay. Now, the critical and high major findings shall be closed within 2 weeks, and all the remaining findings will be closed within 3 weeks from the date of audit report to the third party. Okay, so now this is about GO number 4, where all the IT asserts of various departments, HODs and PSUs will keep their IT assets secure. This is the process which was given in GO number 4. So VAPD life cycle, as I told, before we get into before auditing, we take the URL from the department like staging environment, where we request for a staging environment where the database will be different for staging and the live URL. So the staging, once we receive the staging environment, the APTS will conduct the audit, and as I told you, this process will continue until all the vulnerabilities are closed. And once it is closed, we will issue a certificate with a hash value, where hash value is where we to maintain the integrity. Like suppose the code will be modified after after we have done the audit, the code may get modified many times. Then the hash value of that the code will be changed. So then we may know that these since the code has been changed, where the new vulnerabilities may occur. So based upon the hash value, we may we will provide the certificate that up to this hash value we are providing the certificate and clearance certificate, like it is the website is free from all the vulnerabilities. So okay. The next one is, as I told you before, different types of periodic audits, like risk assessment I've discussed, and the next one is cybersecurity audits, VAPT, and process audits like this will come. I've told you. And the next is a code review. Code review is where you identify different kind of code related vulnerabilities by reviewing all the code, all the application code. And the next one is what I'm going to discuss is about the compliance audit, like before types of audit which I've discussed. Compliance audit is where based upon based upon the organization, the different compliance should be applied. Like if it is a health related organization, the HIPAA should be applied. If it is if we are availing the services from the third party, all these services must be assured using ISO. And the next one is the payment card. If the service is related to some kind of a payment card in industry, then it has to follow the PCI DSS. If any financial information should be held, the SOX Act should be applied. These were the compliance audits. Okay. As I told you, the HIPAA is about the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. It provides a framework for establishment of nationwide protection of patient confidentiality, security of electronic systems, and standards and requirements for electronic transmission of health information. Like patient information can be kept confidential; it should have to be kept confidential and secure in electronic systems. As I told you, the ISO is like getting the assurance from the services which are given by a third party. This ISO may plays a major role. Our APTS is also ISO 2001 certified one. So we provide the services according to the compliance. And the next is the PCI DSS, where payment of, if suppose if any payment card industry is there, this kind of compliance should be applied. SOX is where a financial or fraudulent services and enterprises. It has to improve the accuracy of corporate disclosures. So this where the compliance of SOX will come under. So as I told about the code review, the secure design will play a major role, where before the code released to the publicly, the software developer itself, in the design phase of the software development life cycle itself, we have to develop a fault tolerant program where it has to without secure code, without away from all the logic bypasses or validation bypasses or any kind of buffer overflows. Like if the code is insecure, logic bomb can happen, a JavaScript execution may happen, a buffer overflows may happen, or a validation bypass may happen. A logic bomb is like something, if the logic is if suppose on a user login screen, if the username field is of only length is of only 5 characters, if the code is being developed like that, and the code is, if it is at client side, we can bypass it, or we can send more requests, like we can increase the size, like using the proxy service, we can tamper the username field and give the username as more than 5 characters. You can explore that logics more. The next one, there comes other JavaScript execution, where input validations were not done properly. Then, as I told you before, about XSS, and the buffer overflows is where you can actually overload the particular input field, which is I have told you now about the length or something. You can overflow the input more than the length of the specified by the developer. So next is the validation bypass. Like you can bypass the client if the validations are at the client side. Okay, you can bypass, like there are many different ways where you can bypass it. So how we can maintain the web security, basically all after I have discussed about the threat landscape, how we have to get assured from the services of any organizations, and so after those and compliance audits and all those different types of audits, I'm just giving different ways of how to maintain a web security. It's a generic one actually. So you have to get your make use of any APTS security expert and perform a continuous security audit, or you can keep your software update, and you can you have to use SSL encryption. You can have to enforce a strong username and password policy to your web applications, and you have to use a secure host, where you have to not use any third-party hosting services like GoDaddy or something. You have to use a secure host where you are able to you are trusted with all the away from all the vulnerabilities, trusted source actually. So you have to scan your website for vulnerabilities, you have to back up your data, and you have to ensure a proper access control mechanisms. These were generic web security controls. Means it's not actually controls. It has to be points to be remembered by each and every individual before for maintaining a basic security hygiene. Okay. This was about the web security. Thank you. And this is the session 1. I'm done with it. So any questions anyone can ask?
Madam, shall we take the last or shall we?
Hello.
Sir, I think no questions are there. Shall we go to the second session?
Yeah, shall we continue in this or shall we log in again?
No, sir. Continue in this session.
Okay, sure. Yeah, shall I share my screen? Hello?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, hi everyone. Myself Mohan Krishna Shanti, and I have done BTech in Electronics and Communication, and I'm working as a cybersecurity consultant at Andhra Pradesh Technology Services Limited. So today's topic is how to secure data. Yeah. So till now, in all these sessions, you might have understood that what are possible web-related attacks. Okay, what are possible threats to the applications. Indirectly, that those are related to data as well. So I'm gonna cover that topic only related to data security. Okay. So our objectives are introduction and goals of IT security mainly, and data security, and how to secure data. And this is our main topic. Okay. So let's discuss about from the funda and what is data. Basically, data is collection of facts. Okay. It's a raw in nature, and it needs processing for use. So what is information? Information is basically a processed data which has some meaning. And knowledge. Knowledge is awareness or some familiarity gained from the information. And when we go to wisdom, wisdom is like final result by applying or by calculating through extrapolation of knowledge. So this is basically the basic definition of data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So I'll give you an simple example to understand it better. So you might have heard web-related attacks or some password guessing attacks, right? So on these previous sessions from the OWASP top 10. So I'll take one simple password guessing attack. Okay. So what happens? Suppose I have some person's personal data. Okay, I have some raw data of some person, which is his personal data. Okay, so I processed that and I got something like his name, his father name, his date of birth, his mobile number, something that is information I got from his raw data. I processed it and I got information from that raw data. Okay, after that. I have knowledge that he has used his previous passwords, like something combination of his name, mobile number, and his date of birth. Okay. So, and by comparison, doing this comparison or doing this analysis is knowledge, so that I can apply this knowledge, or by using this combinations, I can guess his recent password or his new password. That is wisdom. This is clear, right? So this is the a pyramid I'm showing here on the screen. When we explain about security, when we talk about security, the level of impact of data breach increases when we go upwards in the pyramid. Why? Because if I get a raw data, that's not still we cannot say that completely because data can be either useful or not unuseful. Okay, so by getting the simply data, we cannot say that complete data breach occurred and the level of impact is high. When we get into upper part of this pyramid, like information, knowledge, and wisdom. So everyone might have heard that Coca-Cola's formula is in locker. That's like a phrase saying that some kind of secret of operations of a company or organization, which should not be leaked. Suppose we can say that that's a kind of wisdom they are applying. That's a formula they are applying to make that Coca-Cola. Okay, so we should not get that if the company discloses or some kind of data breach occurred and that formula gets leaked, what happens? Competitors will increase. Okay, that's a simple example. Okay, now let's go to goals of IT security. Whenever we talk about security, the key elements are confidentiality, authenticity, availability, and integrity. Okay. In the previous session also, Sriza has explained confidentiality, authenticity, availability, and integrity. So I'm gonna give you a quick introduction that confidentiality is basically the information should be accessible only by the authorized persons, and authenticity is like whom we are communicating is a correct person. That should be ensured. Okay. And availability is data should be available whenever a user requires it. And integrity means data should not be changed or modified or deleted, okay, by the unauthorized persons. Yep. When we talk about data, data can be stored in physical records like our hard copies, and data can be stored in electronic records like digital data. Okay, these are some devices I mentioned here: hard disk drives, memory cards, or USB flash drive, CD, DVD, cloud storage. Recently, this is the latest technology, cloud storage. It's rapidly increasing. Okay. Mobile devices as well, because some mobile applications store the user sensitive data in mobile devices as well. So these are some types of data. And what is data security? Now, when we come to data security, it's basically, it safeguards the authenticity, integrity, and confidentiality and other security aspects of the data. Okay. It also helps protecting personal data, that is protecting data from unauthorized access, modification, and destruction or deletion. Okay. So the thing is, nowadays only we are considering that digital data that is stored in hard disk drives or pen drives and all. We are thinking about that data only, and we have to take measures, security measures to be applied only for the digital data. But we are just leaving the physical records in unsecured way. We are just taking some hard copies, or we are making writing some data on papers and all, and we are just leaving that on the desk with actually clean desk policy should be there. So we are just leaving the on papers, and we are mentioning or leaving our personally identifiable information, or it can be password, or it can be username, something we are just leaving on the desk. And these all are some kind of physical security, physical threats to the data, and we need to be considered as well. Okay. Next one, how to secure data. So we understood what is data security, and to achieve that data security, we have some methodology like discover, monitor, and protect. Okay. Basically, discovery is like, in order to protect your data effectively, you need to know exactly what sensitive information you have and where it is stored or located, because keeping the scope or maintaining the scope is very important to apply the security measures. Okay. And when we talk about physical documents, we keep them in shelves or racks. And when we talk about electronic data or digital data, we store in hard drives, DVDs, and databases, servers, or cloud or mobile devices, etc. Okay. And monitor. Second phase is monitor. Monitor is like understand how your sensitive information is being used and by who is operating. Okay. Adopting an always on approach. Okay, always on, always be monitor. Approach means making consumer-led services requests continuous and improving customer relations as well as controlling compliance costs as well. Okay, and staying on the top of this, staying on the top of how our data is being used. It provides us the with an enhanced ability to detect data breaches and respond to them effectively. By monitoring only, we can we can reach the effective security measures. Okay, and protect. In this protecting phase, we observe wherever the data is located, and we observe whoever is using the data, and now we have to protect them, or we have to make some rules that these person only can access this particular data, like that. Okay, so what is protect? Enforcing security policies to proactively secure data and prevent unauthorized data access, modification, or deletion. Okay, so to first of all, to apply this security controls, we need to understand the classification of data. Okay, because by applying this classification of data, we can apply appropriate security controls to that particular data. Okay, what are the classifications? Public, internal only, confidential, and restricted data. This is like public data. By the name itself, we can say that data can be freely accessible by everyone without any authentication or anything. Okay, and internal only. Internal means only for the organization, internal people, and it's not meant for public use. It can be any information related to an organization, such as battle cards, organizational charts, etc. Okay, and confidential information, which is like a sensitive data that is, if compromised, could negatively affect operations. Means if this kind of sensitive information is leaked, or this confidential information is leaked, it may affect the organization operations. And because it is related to contracts with vendors, employee details, or employee reviews data, etc. Okay, and when we go to restricted, this is highly critical information or data. It is because if it is compromised, this could put organization financial or legal risk. Okay, when we can say that users PII data, that is personally identifiable information, or a credit card numbers or Aadhaar numbers, PII, it comes under PII, etc. Okay, previously I mentioned that first we need to classify the particular data, okay, or information in order to apply appropriate security control. Because for an example, we don't need to implement security control for public data, which increases unnecessary cost to the organization, right? So first of all, we need to classify what data we need to protect or secure. Then only we can apply particular measures on that particular data. And to apply this particular data protection or security measures, we need to ensure that this particular security measures or controls are applied in throughout this data life cycle. Okay, then only we can say that the data protection measures are taken properly and the goals are achieved by the organization. Okay, so after classifying the information, we need to ensure that the data security is implemented throughout this data life cycle. In that data life cycle, there are some steps like creation, processing, review, reporting and use, retention and retrieval, and destruction. Okay, so what is creation? Creation is like a manual data entry, external acquisition, capture from devices, etc. That's creating data. Okay, processing, data processing prior to its use, means we are using that and making it to some meaningful information. Okay, now it undergoes a review, and after the processing of the data, it will undergo to review, and we make some dashboards or charts, etc. by using the data. The ultimate goal is to make it support the organization objectives and operations. Okay. After that, after the purpose of the data is over, and now the data is no need to be accessed for a particular period of time, or it's no longer in use. So what we do, we cannot delete the data completely. We do that. We do archiving. Okay. We do data archival according to that policies or IT policies. So industry policies, they may keep the data according to that particular period of time, like 6 months or 7 years or 20 years, something like that. They can keep it as archival. After that, they can directly destruct or delete the data completely. Okay. So next, the states of data. In the entire life cycle of the data can be in any of these 3 states. Okay. So it is important to protect data in all these 3 states. The 3 states are data at rest, data in use, and data in transit. Basically, data at rest, we just discussed that archiving process. After this archival, we keep the data aside, and which is not accessible no longer. Okay. So that we call as data at rest. And data in use, remaining life cycle steps like creation, processing, review, and reporting, that we call as data in use. And data in transit, while the data is being transmitted from one node to another node, or one computer another computer, which we call as data in transit. Okay. So there are some, first of all, we need to understand the threats to data. Okay. There are some threat vectors like external threats, internal threats, physical threats to the data directly. Okay. So first one is external threats. Hackers breach an organization, stealing sensitive users' information like credit card details or users' PII data, users' credentials, or organization secrets, or by doing some ransomware attacks. We'll discuss that ransomware attack at the end. Okay, ransomware attacks, etc., which comes under this external threats. And internal threats. Internal threats are like which are done by, or attacks are performed by internal employees only. Okay. So we cannot simply say that attack is only from external. So we need to look at our internal staff as well. So an internal employee is selling the organizational information. This is an example of internal threat. Or a low-level employee who is just system operator or someone who is getting the administrator privileges or access, because he may control over the whole network of the organization. Okay. And kind of privilege escalations, and gaining employee salary information of other employees and distributes it across the organization, etc. Okay, these all are comes under internal threats. And when we go to physical threats are like example, we have a data center which has a whole lot of data about our servers and all. If thieves strike that data center and doing some vandalism, that's like deliberate destruction or deletion of data. Okay. Or doing some stealing the hardware. Okay. And sabotage. All these are like physical threats. Okay. Some more are there like infrastructure failure, hardware malfunction. Okay. Natural disasters. All these also comes under physical threats to the data. Now, we discussed about the states of data and data life cycle, right? Now we need to discuss the threats in all 3 states of data, that is data at rest, in use, and transit. Okay. So when we discuss about data at rest, the data which is archived, okay, previously we mentioned. So any data that is declared as archival is treated as data at rest. It includes physical records as well as electronic records, because this archival of data is required for particular period of time. At this time, the archive data will not be in use so many times. So which we already discussed, that causes data at rest. Now, what are the threats related to this data at rest? Okay. So theft of physical data. Theft of physical data is like, see, when we don't apply locks, okay, to the CPU hardware, so anyone can open that CPU panel and they may steal the hardware, hard disk drives, and they may steal any other memory devices. Okay, that's also physical security. That's also like a theft of physical data. Something like we use laptops and mobile phones and all. These are these are like portable in nature, right? So they are at higher risk of being lost or stolen. Because if it's a desktop, it's difficult to carry out. But if it's laptop and someone left it on the desk without, keeping the lock to the desk, so it's easy to put it in bag and just run away. Okay, so these are kind of a simple theft of physical data. Or one more example, we can say that if we keep our any physical documents like hard copies of any sensitive data, if we keep on desk and we went somewhere, so anyone just either they can take the hard copy or they can capture some pictures of that and they can go with the sensitive data, because all the data we have, it should be kept under protection. Okay, that is physical security. When we talk about unauthorized access is the persons who are not authorized or who do not have access, they are able to access the particular data, okay, wherever it is. Okay, so that for that we need to increase the tightening the access controls. Okay, breaking the integrity of data. Integrity means like he got some data which is archived or something, and integrity, I already told you, modification without authentication, like unauthorized modification or deletion or addition of data. Okay, and that should not be happen. For that we need to do encryption of data. Wherever we keep the data, store the data, we need to apply encryption. And misuse of information. In this, data misuse is like a use of information in a way that it was not intended for. Okay, user agreements, corporate policies, data privacy laws, and industry regulations all set conditions for how data can be collected and used. But data misuse violates all these requirements. Okay. Now, this is a simple diagram which explains there are some solutions we can implement in our organization to protect the data at rest. Okay, there can be many devices in the organization, like file servers, network shares, document management systems, external storage, databases, endpoints like desktops we use, and laptops or PCs, and mobile devices, cloud storage. Okay, the data at rest can be in any of these devices, and that should be protected by using the measures or by using the security solutions which I mentioned in the below: full disk encryption, device encryption, or a file level encryption, database encryption, IRM or DLP, MDM, mobile device management, and cloud-based security. Okay, so first of all, I'm just saying that data encryption. So I'll just explain what is data encryption first. Okay, then we'll go for the protection solutions. Encryption is process of transforming information using algorithm. Okay, we call it a cipher in a technical word, and to make it unreadable to anyone except those who processing or who has some knowledge of the key. Like, who has the key, they can only decrypt and read the data. Other than that, nobody can read the data because it's not understandable. Once it is encrypted using a key, it's not understandable. Who has the key to decrypt it, he can only able to read the data. So there are some two types of encryptions are there: symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. Basically, in symmetric encryption, we use the single key to encrypt the data as well as to decrypt the data. And there are two keys. One is for encryption and one is for decryption. We use this asymmetric encryption in the email encryption process or PK, public key infrastructure. Okay. So this data protection at rest has some security measures like full disk encryption, which I mentioned in the previous diagram. Okay. So in this full disk encryption, the best example is Windows BitLocker. Okay. What this Windows BitLocker does is it encrypts the entire partition, okay, of the disk. So how this BitLocker encrypts the data is like it uses some TPM, trusted platform module. It's a hardware device which is stored, which is present on all CPUs. Okay, what it is used to store the RSA keys, RSA public keys, for hardware and authentication. Okay, hardware authentication related security. So this BitLocker software uses this TPM for key management, and it encrypts the disk completely. So whenever we use the BitLocker and store the data in any hard drive, so even someone get our hard drive, he should have the PIN or password to or key to enter into that hard drive, and then only he can read the data. Otherwise, no use of stealing that hard drive. Okay, because all the data is encrypted. It can only be destructed. Okay, so there are some hardware security module, key management protection. Okay, these hardware security modules mostly used by the CAs, certification authorities, who maintains this public key infrastructure environment to generate or store asymmetrical key pairs basically. Okay, and when we discuss about encrypting file system storage protection, this is also a folder level protection is there. After that, the file level encryption should be there. Like we use generally PDFs, docs, XLS, etc. Right? So these kind of files also should be encrypted before, if any confidential data is present in these documents and we are sharing it to someone, or we are storing somewhere, these files should be encrypted before doing storing or before transferring to someone. Okay, so that even if someone gets our documents, he won't be able to get the confidential data from the document if it is encrypted. And data loss prevention, this is basically it's one solution to protect the endpoints. Endpoints are like our desktops. Okay, our desktops can be protected by using this data loss prevention. How it protects is, first of all, I'll tell you an example how data loss prevention works. Suppose if we take an insurance company, they maintain this users PAN card details, PAN numbers. Okay, so mostly they work with users PAN numbers in insurance company. So they implement in centralized DLP, and they apply this DLP solution in all the endpoints of users who are working in that. Okay, all the employee systems. Okay, so whenever an employee, they mention rules like if PAN number, they mention some PAN number format in the DLP solution, and if this kind of format numbers comes are transferred, sent via, suppose any end user is sending the any PAN numbers or any copying any PAN number or something like that, this DLP checks for that particular data model. We can say that DLP, because we already mentioned how the PAN number is. So we given that format to DLP, and DLP solution checks for that particular number. And whenever a user copies or whenever a user wants to access the particular data, it will give an alert to the manager or concerned person, whoever is responsible to that. Okay, so that he will check whether that particular user really needs to access the particular data or not. If yes, he will provide access, else he will deny the access. So in this way, this DLP provides the protection for data at the endpoints. Okay. And next one, database encryption. Because database encryption is also required these days, and RDBMSs provide so many encryption techniques also these days. Okay, so because we use this such a SQL or Oracle servers we use, right? Like RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. So they provide some kind of transparent data encryption, like TDE, okay, to protect data stored in the databases. And TDE technologies perform encryption and decryption operations on data and log files in real time. Okay, this allows application development, for example, to work with encrypted data using AES or 3DES. These AES or 3DES are algorithms for the symmetric encryption. Those are used to encrypt the data to store in the database. Okay, this is in this diagram. I'm just showing an example like PAN number. I have given PAN number to database, and before storing it into the PAN number or credit card number, before storing it into the database, the encryption algorithm is in action. What it does, it adds some encryption key, and it uses some encryption key, and it will encrypt the credit card number before keeping the direct clear text credit card number into the database. So we get even if anyone attacker attacks any database, he will get the encrypted credit card number. Okay, so this way we can prevent the database related attacks. So So these are protections, different protections we use in our organizations or for personal use for data at rest. Now we go to data in use. This is the second state of data. Okay. In data in use, a processor application obtains access to or uses data in use. Suppose we have some raw data and we are making some information. Okay, we are processing it. In that stage, this state comes. Okay, where we use the application or where we use some documents to prepare some information or charts or something like offices, Microsoft Office apps or PDFs, etc. Okay, or online if we are doing something, or we when we are entering the data into databases. After that, when we are calling them, it's in use. Okay, when we call using any function, when we call the data from the database, that's in use. That's a state of in use. Okay, and data is in use shall only be used or processed by authorized users only. Okay, generally some system services also there are persons also there who call the data directly. When we take a mobile application, the data will be stored in the that particular package under that particular package folder. Okay, so no other app can read the data of that particular package. Suppose I use the facebook.com and so Facebook mobile app, and I use the Gmail mobile app. Okay, and this Facebook mobile app cannot read my internal storage of my mobile of Gmail application. So Gmail application stores some data and Facebook also stores some data on my device, but one application cannot read the data of other application or cannot get the storage of other application, because already OS level protections are there. So what are threats related to this data in use or remediation, we'll understand. Now theft of physical data, this is common in all the states. Okay, and unauthorized access, this is also same. The users who are authorized or who has the key or password, something like that, they only should be able to access the data. Okay, breaking the integrity, that is also same, that no one should be able to change the data unauthorizedly. Okay, and misuse the confidential information, for that also we discussed, and we use the encryption and DLP deployment for that. And key loggers, while we use the data, suppose we are typing something in the Word document, we are typing some sensitive data. Okay, when any attack occurs or someone has installed any key loggers in our systems, what they does is they capture all the keystrokes. Okay, and screenshots, they capture all keystrokes and screenshots, and they send it to the attacker server. So we should maintain anti-malware software. Okay, so that they will detect these kind of any software, so if someone installed in our devices. So our device physical security is the first one. No one should have access to our systems or laptops or any devices. Okay, so that they can install some kind of any these phishing softwares or key loggers or malwares. Okay, and sensitive information leakage in memory dumps. When we open any when we are writing any documents, they may be, the data will be stored in temp files, or when we use the browsers to access some data, when we are using something in the browser and when we log into the browser, immediately we may leave the desktop as it is and we go somewhere. If someone analyzes, suppose I logged into facebook.com and I'm using some searching and all browsing, and I left the desktop as it is and I went somewhere. So in that time, if someone could get the browser memory dump, they may get the passwords in clear text. Okay, so this kind of temporary files and cache files should be deleted on regular basis. This should be a habit. Okay, for security, for making the security goals. And temporary backups. So backups is the always preferable choice, or it's a best security solution, because without the data backup we won't be able to do the business continuity. Okay, if something has happened and data is lost, then business continuity is not possible if we don't have any backup. So contemporary backups are necessary, and for these backups, encryption and deletion, encryption is required. Okay, if data is not required to backup, if it's not any required data, it's better to delete it. Okay. Next, data in use protection. Like in previous, we can see the simple example. These are the below are the IDM, RBAC, role-based access control, identity access management, and IRM, information rights management. These are some solutions to protect our data while it is in use. Okay, so let's discuss about them.
Sir, audio రావట్లేదు.
Is it okay?
Yes, audible, sir. Audible, sir.
I'll continue.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, so IDM, identity and access management, which we discussed. This will ensure that only authorized persons are accessing the information properly. Okay. Basically, in this, I highlighted two words: authentication and authorization. So, while authentication is the process of validating the identity of a registered user before allowing access to the protected resource. Okay, this is authentication. When we go to authorization, it's the process of validating that authenticated user has been granted permission to access the particular resource. Okay, this is the difference between authentication and authorization, and this is the main part that IDM looks for. Okay, so the users who has proper access, they only should be able to access the particular data. Okay, next one. RBAC, database security. In database security, one more security control is there: role-based access control. Okay, after the encryption of data, that is one step of protection database. After that, role-based access control is there. That means which user has access to which functionality or which data. Okay, that should be mentioned, or that role should be assigned by the administrator or some developer or someone who manages the database, so that only that particular user is able to access that particular data which is supposed to be accessed by him. Okay, and this role-based access control also prevents the even if some user gets the login. Suppose I'll tell you an example. I have facebook.com something. I logged in. Okay, when I logged into the application, I'm a user level, so I should get normal user functionality. If suppose by changing the URL or something, if I get any admin related access, I may get all the user related data, right? So that access control should be assigned properly, so that the only authorized users have access to that particular data. Next one, IRM, information rights management. It basically applies to documents and spreadsheets and presentations which we create, okay, in our daily use. IRM protects files from unauthorized copying, reviewing, printing, forwarding, or deleting or editing of any information. Okay, these are some kind of security measures which we use in protection, which we use to protect the data in use. The third state is like data in transit. When we go to data in transit, that means the data which is being transferred from one node to another node, or one system to another system. Okay, so in this, it may either it can be a digital data or it can be a physical data. Okay, when we transit the physical data, it's like carrying pen drives or hard disk drives or physical records, etc. Okay, so when we are, I'll tell you a simple example. How these currency notes are being transferred from one place to another place, from the printing place to other places, we don't know, because they are transferring it as a confidential. So we need to maintain that kind of confidential when we are transferring or sending any physical data or physical device which has some confidential information, that should be transferred without any knowledge to third user. Okay. When we see the data in transit, there are some kind of attacks like a man in the middle. That's the one attack, the main attack, which affects this data in transit. Okay, these are I mentioned MITM attack. That is like man in the middle. The name itself says that when two computers are communicating via a network cable or some internet. Okay, so man in the middle is like, if I'm able to sniff that network, if I'm able to sniff the traffic, so that whatever they both the nodes A and B, for example, they are communicating, I'm able to capture a copy of the data. That is sniffing, that we also call as man in the middle, who is able to read. Okay, so for that kind of prevention, when we use the clear text protocols like HTTP, we use the websites, okay, HTTP some test.com and HTTPS test.com. What's the difference is the secure layer is applied to HTTPS protocols. That is secure protocols we should consider, and to that secure protocols we need to implement the latest, like SSL is the old version, simple secure socket layer, and transport layer security is the new version. In TLS 1.2 is required now. So we use this kind of encryption protocols for data communication from one node to another node. And theft of physical records and electronic records, which is same, and breaking the integrity also same, and attachments of payloads is the some other attack which comes in data in transit. Okay. So what is this attachment of payloads? We often hear that I'm getting a message to open a link so that I'll get some money, or I'm getting a mail so that when I open that mail, please click the below. The mail says that please click the below link. You will get some kind of money, or you will win a prize or something like that. Okay. So whenever we open those kind of links, there may be some attachments which may have payloads, or which may have some kind of malicious software that we call as malwares, or it may be ransomware, or it can be viruses, computer viruses, or anything may present in those kind of attachments. Or when we open that link, those files will be downloaded to our computer, and they will be stored in the temporary folder, temp folders in our system. So whenever we reboot the systems, they will start running in the background, and they will do whatever the intended action is supplied to that particular program. Okay. So this is the diagram which I mentioned some solutions below for the data and transit protection. Okay, those are like email encryption, managed file transfer, information rights management, DLP, data leak prevention, CASB. These DLP solutions are the like it's if organization is very big and they want to maintain or manage the data securely, they are going to this DLP, data leak prevention, and also email security or email encryption is there. We'll discuss about some kind of protocol, some kind of encryption which we use in the email encryption. Those are like we use the SSL and we use the PKI, SSL or TLS, that is PKI, public key infrastructure. Okay, in public key infrastructure we use asymmetric encryption. Okay, and by using this asymmetric encryption, we may send the email attachment securely, or we may send the email messages securely if any confidential data is present. Or by default, when we apply HTTPS while accessing any email, so TLS will be applied separately. And after that, also on the top, if we want to send any email securely, we may use some kind of PGP encryption. Okay. So these are some kind of protections are there for email encryption. And we need to take care about some points related to email protection, are like hardening email servers and infrastructure. Okay. First of all, hardening email servers are like, so that unnecessary services or ports should be disabled, and infrastructure should be secured, and all the patches are applied, or every software is up to date. After that, enable allowed ports and services. Only required ports should be allowed. Okay. We can use a firewall and filter out all other internal ports of the system. Okay. Enable spam and virus protection. In our emails, we should enable spam and virus protection, so that if any junk mails or this kind of spam mails comes, it will be going to spam folder. And size and email traffic quotas. Okay, so these are like when like email size should be mitigated, limited. Only this much of attachment should be moved, so that any internal employee will not be able to send a bunch of data documents to the outside. Okay. and implement data loss protection. DLP is also used in email protection, and encrypt emails when sharing sensitive information. I already told you, already TLS will be there. Still, if we want to encrypt the data, or if we are sharing any confidential information, we can apply one more encryption like PGP. Okay, PGP encryption, so that we can encrypt the data using a public key. And whenever we send to someone, the user only who has the private key to decrypt it can only see our email or read our email. Okay, next. And while data in use, while sending data from one node to another node, other than email, there are some other encryption protocols are there, like secure shell. Like secure shell we use for file access, remote access from one machine to other machine in a using a secure way. After that, virtual private network. Virtual private network these days we use we are due to this corona, and some like everyone, most of the organizations allow work from home, right? So they are providing VPN, virtual private network. Why they're providing is so that they can securely connect to the organization network, and because encryption is there in the VPN. Okay, and Wi-Fi protected access. Wi-Fi protected access should be latest version of WPA2. It should be, because all the WPA, WEP, they have some known attacks to guess the Wi-Fi passwords and all. Okay, and secure socket layer. Secure socket layer. Everyone knows that we use while accessing any web. In the browser, when we see HTTPS some google.com, that is secured already. They are using the HTTPS communication using SSL or TLS. Okay. And here data in use, we can data in transit. Data in transit, we can use the data loss prevention solutions, which will monitor our SMTP, HTTP, instant messaging, FTP, or any TCP based communication. They will monitor, and if any data which data category which we mentioned in the DLP solution, if that kind of data is being sent through any of these protocols, it will be monitored by the DLP, and it will give an alert to the administrator or particular person, concerned person, okay, who is managing that. And after that, it will prevent SMTP, and obviously HTTP and HTTPS protocols, FTP, same protocols, or whatever it is monitoring, it will prevent also without sending the confidential information from internal to external. Next, these are some attacks and protections for data in all the three states. Nowadays, we are facing some issue, this ransomware issue in most of the organizations. Okay, everyone might have heard that 2017 May, WannaCry ransomware came in. It destroyed most of the government organization computer systems, or so many private companies also get affected by this ransomware. So ransomware is basically a malicious software, okay, which encrypts the data. When it comes to our system, it will encrypt all our data, all our files, okay, and it will ask for ransom. It will ask for money, okay. Even we pay the money, we are not sure that we will get the data back. So these kind of attacks are also there on the data in any of the state. So while accessing data, while accessing any website or link, we should be take care that no attachments are being downloaded in our browser, or there should not be any malicious software in our temp folders and all. Okay, so how cyber criminals install this ransomware? We'll understand how they'll install. Ransomware generates a pop-up window, web page, or email warning from what looks like an official authority. I already said that we will get some kind of mails. Please open that link. This link you will get money, you will get prizes, and also those are some kind of attractive mails, or some kind of mails. Please open this link and register so that you will be in part of this organization. Some kind of mails you will get. It feels like you are getting the mail from the authorized person. Okay, and ransomware is usually installed when you open malicious email attachments, click on malicious links, an email message or instant message or social networking site. Okay, so all these are at all these are stages where we may get affected by the ransomware. Ransomware can even be installed when you visit a malicious website. Okay, so how to protect from ransomware? Keep all data software on your computer up to date. Make sure automatic updating is turned on to get all latest Microsoft security updates and browser related components. Okay, keep your firewall turned on, and SMB should be updated. And do not open spam email messages or click links or suspicious websites. Always have backup system in place so that just in case your PC become infected, then you can get your recover files. Okay. Now, if anything has happened to our data, and there should be a possibility that we should be able to recover the data. Even something has happened, we should be able to recover our data. Then only we can do the business continuity plan. Without that, we won't be able to continue our business. Okay. So for this data disaster recovery technology, there are some kind of methods we may use to do that. We may use to follow in our organizations to make recovery and all. So first one is continuous data protection. It's like maintaining a record of every transaction with the most recent clean copy for easily retrievable. And in that, after that, we do that, verify whether reliability of backup is there or not. We do backup, but we should also verify that can we back up all data, or is there any misfunction is there. Okay. Next, archiving or backing up. It's like a data that may not be required to use. Okay. But which needs to be maintained to meet the compliance purposes. We should do the archiving. Archiving can be done in any of these snapshots, tapes, or disk-based archival or virtual tape libraries. We can do the archival process. And data deduplication. Data deduplication is like eliminating the needs for duplicate files and blocks and optimizes bandwidth use during recovery. Okay. And enable failover services to the disaster recovery. What is this is servers should be configured to enable standby secondary devices to take over from primary ones in the case of failures. So if any downtime comes, so there should be other service which should serve the users or the person who want to access our data. Okay, so this is disaster recovery technologies. So the main task main objective is like how to secure data is completed. So these are some basic security tips every organization or every person should follow so that the organization security goals will be achieved. Okay, keep the software and systems up to date. All the software should be up to date and everything should be proper. No spyware software should be installed in the office organization systems. Okay, and creating strong passwords and change them frequently. Creating a strong password is the obviously the first first protection for any data. Okay, so an example is Facebook CEO like Mark Zuckerberg. One account, one of his social media accounts password was leaked, and all other his social media accounts are get hacked because of that password, because he used the same password for Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever social media accounts are there. So that's not the good practice. Okay, so best password policy is like a minimum of 8 characters, and it should include alphabets like uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters. Okay, and we should use the different passwords for different services. And installing security software on our endpoints or servers so that they may protect from these malicious softwares. And increase the employee awareness regarding security practices. It's like we cannot get the security goal. We cannot reach the goal of security alone in the organization. It should happen by all employees working in the organization. So all employees should be trained regarding the security activities. Okay, so these are also some basic tips like which I mentioned here. Employee awareness and update the software to latest versions. All these are mentioned here again. So my topic is over related to how to secure data. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ask any questions, can you type in the chat box only? Chasmita, ये question करेंगे chat box में.
So are there any queries you can ask me?
You are getting compliments.